I like kind of wish I had gotten the...
That like fucking legit exploded.
Did we get that on film?
Sorry, babe. I think it's just the
settling.
Paper settling. Yeah. We'll find out, won't we?
I feel like that episode of Family Guy where Stewie is really fat. Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching Big Mouth, Season 5, Episode 3. I didn't write down the title.
Lovebugs.
I was going to say, bye, curious.
No, well.
We did, in fact, get 2 new monsters. We got the Lovebugs.
Yeah.
I'm going to shot in the dark and say that was Billy Porter.
It was not Billy Porter. His name is Brandon Kyle Goodman. And Sonia was Pamela Adlon. I
know her.
She's on that show called Better Things or whatever on FX. She does like a lot of voices. She does Olsen Benner on Bob's Burgers.
So yes, Walter and Sonia and their little glowy butterflies. They are cute. They had like the shape of love bugs, which in Florida we are familiar with.
I thought they were going to be like that, and I'm glad they weren't.
to quote Kevin Smith, land of the butt fucking bugs.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It's just driving through an orgy everywhere you go. But several plots. This was a pretty good episode.
This was a really good episode. I really liked this one.
Some landed more sturdily than others.
Yeah. Well, like Andrew's whole juicy butt thing was like very not my bag. It was like carried on the charm of John Mulaney's voice alone.
He has this weird mixture of like
he's like
appealing but repugnant.
Sure,
because he's apparently got a big old penis.
Yeah, he's also like an overconfident
nerd.
Yeah, like an overconfident sad sack.
But he's like this show. It captures so brilliantly those feelings.
Yeah.
That sort of 12 to 14 where you're sort of like, oh,
yeah,
is this what I think it is?
Yeah.
And he was feeling himself. Like
so funny. So funny.
And I love that it wasn't anybody else's problem. Like he wasn't insisting it upon other people in ways that he kind of can't.
It was just him and Maury was just like helping him. He just was like, yeah, you feel yourself.
So what is Missy's club?
I think it's sort of like an allies club.
Okay.
But this
was it pre-established? They were talking about it like I was supposed to remember what it was.
I think towards the end of season 4 is when she was like beginning.
And they were
when she was finally like embracing the racial stuff.
Her roots and stuff. They're trying to take down the school mascot, which is the scheming gypsy. So we went like 3 or 4 episodes where it was sort of like hovering in the background. Yeah. And as I recall, there was just one scene where it was not the focal point, but you just sort of like shrieked. You just sort of gasped because you saw it in the background. Yeah. Very funny.
It's super offensive.
Very interesting bit of commentary.
Yeah. It's very funny though. Like, I mean, even on something like Bob's Burgers, their mascot is a whaler, like a whale hunter. And so it's just like, that's also, these are bad things that we don't do anymore for a reason.
Well, some things are wrong, but if they're wrong for a long enough period of time, then it's just tradition.
Yeah.
Woof.
Yeah.
So we had Jessi and Nick and Allie and Missy, and then the ghost girl.
Devon was there, and then the ghost girl, who apparently Allie is sort of dating.
I kind of vaguely remember. I think that happened because I did remember very bisexual episode of a relatively bisexual show, if we're being completely honest. Although that comes with the territory, certainly in healthy circles.
Yeah.
So Nick is still in love with Jessi.
Yeah.
She's not there, but she's definitely not there.
Yeah.
And
She likes him, but she likes him as a friend, and she's obsessed with Judd.
But the notion that he could become Judd was very intriguing to her.
Well, it was especially intriguing to Connie, who was like, "Oh, what now?"
Connie was
MVP
in rare form in this episode.
So good.
And the smash cut from him singing the song all like brilliantly in his head to the reality of it, how terrible it was. I wasn't anticipating that because this show just does musical numbers.
Yeah, sometimes
we had one in this episode already.
And then Connie was just clutching her hair like this.
But clinging.
Yeah. And Jessi was like, "What do I do?" And she goes, "Oh, baby, I think you just have to let him finish. Maybe at the end it's a joke."
But in doing all this, basically, they sort of co-opt Missy's whole thing. They really override
Jessi and Allie too.
Yeah, they really override her like plan and in a way that's like meta commentary. And Jessi and Allie like take it and run, and Jessi sort of unbeknownst to her. I mean, I saw it coming a mile away, but there was a part of me that was like, are we gonna do this? Or I didn't know, because I don't necessarily know that I think Jessi is gay or bisexual. I think it's that sort of Jennifer's body thing we talk about.
I think Jessi will have a relationship with a woman in college. I think this thing with Allie is actually slightly different. I don't think it's like an in love.
Well, because she hangs out with the boys.
Yeah.
So she's kind of a tomboy. And so I think this is obviously her and Missy are friends, but it's like Allie's also so different from Missy. And I think Allie's a good sort of not cipher, but thing for her to put some of her like angst and confusion and frustration with her like home life. Because Jessie's parents are kind of terrible.
Yeah.
You made a comment about her dad.
I feel sort of bad for him. I remember that he was a bad husband and that he's a sort of absent father. But I feel kind of bad for him because now he's just so pathetic.
I think it's that thing where it's like you shouldn't test people when they don't know they're being tested. It's like, I don't know that I trust that her mother ever was communicating her needs and desires to him.
He was failing tests that Shannon was giving him when he didn't know he was being tested.
And I think he has the desire to be a good.
Yeah.
I cannot believe we are talking this way about this cartoon. This dumb
cartoon man.
I mean, I'm all for. I'm not judging the form of or the art form of cartoons, but this show from the outside looking in, it's garbage, but it's actually really kind of profound.
It's so much. I agree with you. I think that he wants to be a good dad, but I think it's that kind of...
And a good man, but it's sort of like, what is that?
Well, and especially because even though this is taking place now and these kids are like 14, so what you're imagining is that they were maybe born in like the early 2000s. For me, because of the creators it is coming from, Jessie's dad feels like a Gen X dad.
Straight Daria. Like,
100%.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing where I'm just sort of like, for this Gen X guy to want to be a good father, but he like never got over being a stoner and he doesn't know how to be like a successful man in this world, but also is fascinating.
To have the desire and then be able to identify the desire for male friendship, for companionship in that regard. I mean, that sounds romantic, but like...
No, it's correct.
It was very sort of like, whoa, this episode was doing a lot of things.
It was doing so much.
A whole lot of things.
But that to go back to the thing with Allie is, for me, it's not so much a like Jessi is in love with Allie. It's like it's that kind of girl friendship where Allie is confident and she knows who she is and she's like where she's at and she's like 100. They're like,
she's inspired by Allie.
Exactly. And so it is a very like love adjacent, but it's not a romantic love. It's a different thing.
But I think half of that is going to be determining if it is or isn't.
For sure.
Because Allie is also bisexual. So it's like there has to be an element. Well, there is an element of that where it's like, oh, here's something I didn't even know was an option.
Yeah. The other thing is the pineapple in this episode was...
That really tickled you, was it?
So funny. Well, what's funny...
It feels like something your dad would.
Well, I don't really know why it tickled me so much, except for like the only way I can try to explain this is just like break down the whole thing, which is that we know that Jessie's dad likes to dehydrate fruit and stuff. So they walk in and he's like, hey, you guys are just in time for like you dehydrated pineapple or whatever. And Jessi is so mortified that her dad is like engaging with her and Allie at all. And then he like hands them a bag of it. And then we almost smash cut to them in her bedroom later. And there are already 2 empty bags of dehydrated pineapple. And they're working on the 3rd. And it's like, I don't know how much of it was like the sugar or if he like accidentally put drugs on the dehydrated pineapple or something. But they are like almost high. Like
you were like, they're all
high.
hopped up on.
I said it like 2 seconds before they were like, we're all hopped up on the pineapple. And then they get caught and they just can't stop farting. And they both are like, it has to be the pineapple. I don't know. It did really tickle me.
But it's also the inoffensive, we'll go with inoffensive, like gross girl jokes that are very, very real, but you don't often see like depicted in media. And the fact that they're just so sort of delighted. Yeah. And they don't have to pretend like girls don't fart. You know what I mean? That whole like
because they're together without any boys. And that's why they can do it. It's so funny. I love it.
Matthew is hung up on Jay and his uncut cock. Yep. Relatable is all I'll say. I felt bad with what a jerk he was being with Aiden. However, I'm over Aiden.
Oh, sure.
And I don't know if this is what the show is trying to do, but if it is, I'm a little bit thrilled because there is sort of that notion, especially amongst well-meaning peers and just society in general. It's like, well, you're gay and you're gay, so it's perfect. Yeah. And also being young and finding someone who's even remotely compatible, you feel this need, like, this is my opportunity. Yeah. And
who knows if there will be another.
It doesn't work that way. Well, I mean, it can, but it doesn't have to.
Yeah, but like, could you, I mean, the two gay kids in like a small town school, I like being forced. Like, that was like a really good thing that they did in Love, Simon, where it was like he was like, I don't have anything in common with you.
So, and I'm aware that my experiences are not universal. However, I do feel that I am not alone in this, but sometimes the 2 gay boys in like a Midwestern town or whatever is like 2 enemy feral cats.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's very, what is that and why is it doing what I'm doing? Like, it's taking my...
Why is it trying to be me?
Yeah, and I actually had, I mean, I can think of 4 off the top of my head, young gay friends that I tried to be friends with, and it was like oil and water. Yeah. I was like, this is not working for me. And I outwardly disliked them. Yeah. Like, and so I don't know if if they're sort of like touching on that. And I mean, I suppose they are. I suppose they are touching on that. It's whether or not we'll get a lot more of
like
that.
Resolution. Yeah.
I actually like Jay so much, considering how utterly horrible so much of his material is.
So
just terrible.
I agree with you. I think my favorite thing is how Andrew's dad just calls him Feral, the feral kid. Because it's true. Jay is like remarkably well-adjusted and self-aware for having not been raised.
He's on his own. Yeah.
And
and on top of that, he has multiple factors out to get him. Yeah. It's not just being on your own. It's fighting against odds at every step of the way.
I like Jay also quite a lot. I think he is sort of like a sleeper up note of this show. I think he's very funny. I am very interested about the Jay and Matthew thing. I think it's going to be interesting.
Also, with Charles, who is Devin's boyfriend. Not Devin, Gina. He was her boyfriend. Yeah. And again, when this was happening, when he was like, oh, you got to teach me that, I was like, relatable. Yeah. I've been in this situation before. I wonder if we're going there with this. Yeah. And they were playing it so subtle. And again, Charles was so deadpan, like so giving him nothing to work with. To say relatable for a 5th time. And just sort of that moment at the end where it's like, whew, I don't know what Jay's going to do.
Yeah, I feel a little bad for Jay, like kind of all the time. And I love how Jason Mantzoukas plays him. So I am interested to see how it ends up. I wonder if he's going to like hit the wall and be like, I'm done. Like,
and he has too many options right now and he's going to end up with none.
Yeah. Lola, Matthew, or Charles. Yeah. She was the mascot.
So that's a good place to stop. Like I said, there ended up being plenty to mine in this episode. So we're going to go watch the next episode and then we'll report back. And I'm hoping they're not all quite this deep. Otherwise, we're going to be here for a few hours.
Yeah, wow.
I remember the episode 2. We were sort of like, a couple things happened. Bye.
Bye. Yeah.
So, we'll be back after episode 4.
Bye.